On January 11th, 2024, I'm going to call the Morton County Commission meeting to order. Our first item of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show we have Commissioner Zachmeyer, Commissioner Buckley, Commissioner Langang, Commissioner Morrell, and myself, Commissioner Boehm, present, along with Auditor Roan, State's Attorney Copy, and Sheriff Kirkmeyer. First item will be the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections or additions to the agenda tonight?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Now we have the minutes from our December 26, 2023 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the December 26, 2023 meeting. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. That, then we move into our monthly bills. Commissioner Buckley,
I still have a little pile here, Mr. Chair.
still working on it.
Yeah, no,
We had
but
a meeting.
I have not found anything to be out of order, so I would move to approve the monthly bills and payroll. I just have one question.
Mhm.
Do I need to make a separate motion because there's 23 bills and 24 bills? Okay, so
Okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the bills as presented. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. Don, we're going to do a roll call on the bills because of the funding.
Buckley,
Yes.
Morrell,
Yes.
Zachmeyer,
Yes.
Langang,
Yes.
Boehm.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. We're going to move right into the agenda then, our reorganization of the County Commission Board. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Auditor Roan.
Okay, I'm accepting nominations for the chairman position for this 2024 calendar year.
I nominate Nathan Bay.
Okay, we have a nomination for Commissioner Boehm. Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations for chair?
Madam Auditor, I'd move that nominations cease and an unanimous ballot be cast for Nathan Boehm to be Morton County Commission Chairman.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to cease nominations and cast a unanimous ballot for Chairman Boehm for chairman. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Chairman Boehm is our chairman once again. Now we'll move to vice chair. So I'm looking for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Andy Zachmeyer.
We have a nomination for Commissioner Zachmeyer. Is there any other nominations?
I'll nominate Commissioner Buckley.
And we have a nomination for Commissioner Buckley. Any other nominations? Seeing no more nominations, we will cast ballots then. And Commissioner Buckley is our vice chair.
All right.
I'll turn it back over to Chairman Bain.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our second item on the agenda, Dina Kemet with the NDSU Extension.
Thank you. I thought it would be a good idea for me to come here tonight and just introduce myself. Like all good extension folk, I'm gonna pass out this district map.
Maps.
As per the Morton County Commission request, you will notice that Morton County now sits in the central district for extension, meaning that I am the district director now for Morton County, and
The podium, you with the podium, so you're on the camera and the speaker.
also,
That way,
thank you.
that
I'm
way
gonna
everybody
pass it-
can see you.
I'm gonna pass out something else as well, but anyway, first of all, so just formally wanted you all to know who I am. And I wanted to bring you up to date on just a couple of things that are happening in Morton County, in case you're not aware. We have received the resignation, and Courtney Hoykala, your family community wellness agent, is no longer with Morton County. And Kelsey Deckert has shifted her responsibilities full-time to Burleigh County. And I would entertain any questions you have on either of those changes. Okay,
Yes.
I don't think some of that is new news. I have met with your chairman, Commissioner Boehm, and so he was aware of that. Your Ag and Natural Resources agent, Renee Gress, is back full-time, and I understand that you have recently hired a part-time administrative assistant, so we have a few things happening on that front. Okay, next, as is customary when there is a resignation and a departure of an agent, we come to the commission at the next available meeting and ask what your wishes would be for filling that position. I am having a meeting tomorrow with Commissioners Buckley and Boehm, along with some NDSU folks to talk about these positions. But I wanted full disclosure with all of you. It's really important that you know that we're not sitting on anything right now. We're ready to move forward. I brought some information about the family community wellness position. Can I pass that out?
Yep.
Traveling around the room when I thought. I included, oh, I'll go back to the microphone.
Yeah, if you would.
Yeah.
In the packet, I included some information about what the Family Community Wellness Agent does and our programming areas for that. Second page after that is the one that describes our financial partnership when we pay for agent positions. This is not new information to any of you, I'm sure, but if you have any questions, I highlighted specifically the section that talks about how we fund agents' salary. I'll pause. Are there any questions on that? Okay, next in the packet then I have the job or position announcement that was put out for the most recent hire I'm working on, and that is for the Burleigh County FCW agent. And I wanted you to have that as a comparison from that position to the most recent one that you had when you hired Courtney Hoykala for the FCW position.
So Dina,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so can you just highlight what's different in Burleigh than this position?
Certainly, Morton County had asked that the FCW agent in Morton County have a more focused workload on leadership and civic engagement.
Okay.
That it's not unheard of, but it's not as common as just a blanket family community wellness agent. What they do is basically the same. I would say Courtney focused a little bit more on like the Building Tomorrow's Leaders, some of those, the community education. She was involved in different committees and boards where it was more like the chambers and the things to help community engagement.
So this Burleigh County is keeping theirs as a traditional program.
True, and I can tell you that I just opened up Stutzman County, and they're going the same route as Burley County. All FCW agents do work in leadership and civic engagement. I wasn't part of the conversation that brought you to shifting to that as a focus. That can be part of the conversation that we have in our meeting tomorrow, but usually when I go to the commission, when I have an open position, I look for formal action from the commission to grant me the ability to move forward in filling it. But because your meeting was today and our meeting is tomorrow, I thought I want to do things the way I typically do them. But I'm giving you the latitude to say, let's wait until the committee meets. I can come back. You can put it on the group that's meeting tomorrow to make that decision. That's entirely up to you. I just wanted you to have all the information, and I wanted all commissioners to have the information. So with that, if you don't have any questions for me, that's really all I have, unless you want to take action.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to introduce Dina a little bit more. I've known her for a long time. And she started out in extension as a support staff person in Mercer County. And then she went on to be a county staff person. And then she moved into her current role as a district director. I think that's kind of the progression.
Definitely.
And she got her bachelor's degree, and then she got her master's degree at the same time I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dina knows what it's like to work in a county, and she has that background, and so I'm really excited to work with her on the commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Buckley. Yes, Jackie was quite a mentor to me. Being from the neighboring county of Mercer County, I've judged in Morton County more years than I can count, and we work together on lots of things. So Morton County is near and dear to my heart. So don't feel like because I've stepped into this position that it was something that was forced on me. My plate was full, but I have in my heart to rebuild extension in Morton County as much as we can, and we will. I keep saying we're in a rebuilding mode. I feel positive things happening, and I look forward to what we're going to accomplish. So it's up to you guys what you'd like to do about this position. I'm not rushing you, is what I'm saying. I'm just treating you like I treat everybody else.
Mr. Chair, what comes to my mind is when we were discussing right before the previous advertisement was looking at our Morton County communities especially, is that there is communication from within those communities about their desire to have more people fostering leadership within our communities, stepping forward and coming into leadership roles within those communities. And I believe that's where a lot of this really came into play for that focus. And my knowledge is that that really hasn't changed. You know, there's still a need out there, especially in our smaller communities, to encourage more citizens to engage within their jurisdictions and step forward in leadership roles. And that's where the quest for that community-driven focus really came into play.
And just so you know, we aren't looking to change anything. I just wanted you to know the options, and I wasn't part of the discussions that you had in the past for why that change was made. Again, all FCW agents do civic and leadership engagement type work. So, but if you want to keep that as a focus, I mean, we're fine with that. And we are partners in how we fill positions, how we describe positions, what we put as the responsibilities of that individual. So what you all want is what I want.
And echoing Commissioner Morell's comments, I mean, that was the reason for putting a little focus on Courtney's position when she was hired. Just bring a little bit of that in, and it might take several years till it, comes to be more a part of it. But I think we started out with 2 different engagement ideas that we had right off the bat, and they went very well. So
The one thing I will add is that when Courtney's position was, when I announced that her resignation, I did get a couple of inquiries from people, and I know that that specific focus does cause a little angst with some of our internal FCW agents, only in that it might be a different kind of challenge and maybe not what they're used to. So I know that I had a question from the auditor at one time about would that limit the applicant pool? And I would say that would be the one thing I would say it could. If anything would limit the applicant pool, it might be that particular focus, because current FCW agents are used to doing what they do. And again, what Courtney was doing was really no different than what they're doing. It's just that
Right.
because it's labeled different, it causes people to stop and go, wait, I'm gonna have to do something way different, but,
And that's not something we'd expect.
right,
You know, it's a building process.
yeah.
No matter who you talk to on that, it's not gonna, it's gonna take time.
But we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dina. Next, we have Don, our tax director.
We have to approve the motion when we fill that position.
We're gonna wait until after the committee.
Good evening.
Okay.
Quite a few abatements tonight. Most of them are homestead credits that I was able to group, but, so the first group up is the homestead credits. There's a little break in here, so we have 6298 through 6305, and then 6313 through 6317. Most of these are for 2023. There's 3 of them in there that are for 2022. We're kind of in the period now where we've sent out the tax bills. People are starting to pay their tax bills, but they're also turning in 2023 homestead credits. So if we can get the homestead credit in before they pay their bill, we don't have to do an abatement, but we've got a few now that are paying and then putting in the homestead credits. So we're gonna see more and more of these 2023s coming in. And of course, this is the second year of the expansion of the homestead credit program. So, we're seeing, or first year, I should say, of it. So we're seeing quite a few taxpayers that didn't realize that that program had changed and are now turning in abatements where they qualify where before they would not have qualified, so.
They're all the same, except for 1 year, a couple years in there.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve 6298
Through the bottom.
through 6317 for homestead credits. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I need to withdraw my motion and say that recommend approval of homestead abatements 6298 through 6305 and homestead credits 6313 through 6317.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatements 6298 through 6305 and 6313 through 6317 for years 2022 and 2023 for homestead credit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abatements carry.
Okay, we just have one veterans credit abatement tonight. That's 6312 for 2022.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve abatement number 6312 for veterans credit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6312 for the year 2022 for veterans credit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next abatement up is 6306. This is a home we visited shortly after the Board of Equalization back in June. But I have to apologize because it got lost in the shuffle. So the taxpayer called me and I dug it out, so I'm bringing it for you tonight. So this is a home we visited, adjusted some details on it, and as a result of that, the value of the home did go down.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve abatement number 6306 for adjustments after evaluation.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6306 for the year 2023 for reassessment. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6307. This, as a result of a parcel split, there was a home on the parcel. When we split it, we put the home on the wrong parcel. They subsequently sold the parcel with the home on it, but we still had it taxed on the other one. So this abatement is removing it from this parcel. We also submitted an omitted property to tax it to the one it should have gone to. So this abatement is just one part of two there.
Commissioners have a motion.
Move that we approve abatement number 6307 for incorrect assessment.
Second.
Second.
Oh, go ahead, Ron.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6307 for the year 2023 for a reassessment. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6308. This is kind of a continuation of calls we're getting to go out and reassess properties where they thought the 2023 value was too high. This is one of two of them that we have before us tonight, where when we went out there, it was assessed as residential land when we determined it should have been agricultural land. So in addition to adjusting the details of the home itself, we also switched that land over. So the abatement before you tonight is the decrease that caused.
Chairman, I move to approve abatement 6308, 22 reassessment as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6308 for tax year 2022 for reassessment from residential to ag land. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
Okay, done.
next one up is abatement 6309. This is another one we visited for the 2023 year. As a result of that visit, we would fix the square feet of the basement and the second floor, and then we corrected some elements on their shops that they have out there.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we approve 6309 as a reassessment.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6309 for tax year 2023 reassessment. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6310. This is the other one where it was residential when it should have been agricultural. So again, we went out and did a visit on the home to correct all of the elements of the home, and also did that switch from residential to agricultural.
Move we approve abatement number 6310 for reassessment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6310 for reassessment from residential to agricultural. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next one up is abatement 6311. This one's from the city of Mandan, but basically doing the same thing we're doing, go on out and visit homes, correcting issues that we're having for 2023. So in this case, they corrected an error in the basement finish on this property, and the city agenda is also attached.
I move to approve abatement 6311, which is a reassessment abatement for 2023.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6311 for reassessment for tax year 2023. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And our final ones are abatement 6318 and 6319. This is an error that's been on the books since 1964. At that time, the owner sold this land to the United States, which the United States is tax exempt, but the county has continued to tax this parcel since 1964. It is a very small parcel, as you can see with those values there, but it shouldn't be taxed. So this abatement is for 22 and 23 to remove the taxes entirely on land that is owned by the United States government.
So why is it so hard to not tax it? I mean, what's the reason? Why do we keep doing it over and over when we know it's wrong?
It's coming up with those parcels when they computerize things. I can't say exactly where this error came from, but the deed was pretty clear that this had been sold, but the parcel was still put in this taxpayer's name and taxed to them.
You would think with computers we could take that one and flag it so that it doesn't go out, but okay.
I move we approve abatement number 6318, 6319 for, no assessments.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded to approve abatement 6318 for your tax year 2022 and 6319 for tax year 2023 for our reassessment. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, I think Mr. Patrick Morton, our Morton County Director of Emergency Management, is up next.
Good evening, Chairman Bain, Commissioners, Auditor Rome. I just wanted to come before you tonight to give you kind of an update on what our department's looking at for the coming year. I believe you have these slides in your packet.
Yes.
Yep.
So one of the main things we're looking at is we know FEMA, the federal government side of things, tends to drive their concern with on grant-related items. As you know, in the past, cybersecurity has been a hot topic, climate change. What we're seeing this year is equity. And so the office, we sat down and we talked about coming up with a plan to satisfy that. And basically what we're going to be looking at is how certain residents or vulnerable populations within the county and how we can reach them better, especially through our Code Red notification system. You know, there could be isolated elderly populations, also identifying those with mobility challenges. So in case of emergency, we hope to have those people identified, and you know, if the emergency or disaster is in that area, we can focus on at least letting our first responders know that we have that those populations in that area. We're also going to take a look at, on top of that, take a look at analyzing, as we do every year, analyzing our first responder agencies' efficiency and looking at how we can improve that, always for our communities. So another thing we talked about was, you know, with the increase in language barriers, especially in our ag community, in conversations with some of the producers in the county, we've identified that, you know, they're hiring workers that may have, speak a different language, right? So, we're gonna take a look at that and how do we address that through our notification systems as well. The other rather large project that we have coming up is our multi-hazard mitigation plan is due for an update in 2025. As many of you are aware, that is a fairly large project for emergency management. It basically takes a really in-depth view of each community's you know, vulnerabilities, threats, hazards, and we address that through that plan. And we have a lot of meetings throughout the county. We're going to be going out to every city, meeting with stakeholders, getting their input is a big concern for us as well. So we'll have that coming probably as soon as next month. We're working on a grant right now for that contractor to facilitate that for us. So we'll be coming to you probably within the next month or two with approval for that. Some other things that we're planning for the coming year would be, you know, every year we have to conduct an exercise. Homeland Security exercise is required by the state Department of Emergency Services as well as FEMA. And basically what those do is it just evaluates our first responders' readiness, right, and their capabilities. And then through those exercises, we're able to identify any gaps that we may have and focus on that moving forward. And that can involve tabletop exercises and all the way up to full-scale exercises. So kind of what we're looking at is for an exercise, either the tabletop or full scale, would be a livestock accident. It's a new annex for us, I believe, probably within the past year, 2 years. We've included that in our incident action plan. And so we're looking at this coming exercise as an opportunity to test that. And that annex for our incident action plan involves, you know, it's going to involve law enforcement, EMS, fire, as well as veterinarians, and then local producers too. We also have potentially involved in that to assist in any of those kind of emergencies. And it's a real thing. When I worked for the city, I was involved in 2 of those livestock emergencies on the interstate. And it's a very interesting incident. So we'll be looking at getting that accomplished. We're also looking at, one of our goals is to establish a strategic communications plan, specifically for our office first, and then possibly using that as a template, maybe moving out to other departments for the county, within the county, or just see how it fits overall. Some steps that we've taken to work on that already. We've had training in 2 FEMA trainings that we've attended, the Public Information Officer Awareness course, as well as the Public Information Officer Basic course was attended already this year, or late last year. Another thing we're evaluating right now, and we're just in the initial phases of that, but we're looking at establishing possibly an internship program for our department. I see that as, you know, benefiting us in the county, in the sense that if we can establish that type of relationship, we can that'll be a resource for us as well moving forward, to include in all of our plans really. And you know, when we talk about academics, of course we certainly do have access to research at that point. And you know, a lot of things that are grant driven are research driven. So like I said, we're definitely looking, I've been in discussion with North Dakota State University, their EM department. Their program is very well respected throughout the nation. So I'm excited about that. And then we're also looking at you know, exploring our options with University of Marion, of course, Bismarck State College, whether that, you know, assists us in the communication side of things, or GIS and mapping and things like that. So like I said, potentially could evolve, you know, on basically how that goes. We could, you know, move that out to social work department, communications, and possibly law enforcement. I can see that as being beneficial to those departments as well. Some grant funding and opportunities, kind of a historical look in the mitigation and recovery portion of emergency management. I think we're all familiar with the Lower Hart District project that's going on. It's a $23 million project, and you know, we have that grant from FEMA for $13 million. That's ongoing, and we're working with the Lower Hart on that. As of last week, the spring flooding, where we had that 167 sites damage, you know, the road culverts and things like that. We just finally got that grant finalized, and the highway department should be commended for the work that they did. We were just kind of the steerers, they were the doers. So we're grateful for their work. And you know, we had, just to give you some figures, we had $183,000, a little over $183,000 in damage, and we were reimbursed by the feds and the state at to the tune of $156,000. So we had good return there, and that's basically all through documentation and through that the highway department did. Enabled that reimbursement. Cybersecurity for the county. So if you remember in 2022, we applied for a cybersecurity grant and for a new server and a backup server and some software. That grant reimbursement to the county was $28,900, or little over $28,000. 2023, we're looking at another grant, cybersecurity grant, that will enhance the county's security program as far as that goes, cybersecurity. And it'll also involve a domain change, moving to a .gov instead of a .org. It increases the security. So we're looking at almost $12,000 for that grant. The county share would be a little over $1,800, and so with the savings of, you know, $9,933. So we'll be looking forward to that as well. And I guess I'd stand for any questions.
I have one for you, Patrick.
Yes.
The multi-hazard mitigation plan that ends this year, so we'll get that started. 'Cause I remember kind of going through it last time, but do you get that done in 1 year for 25, or we finish it in 25?
It'll be, yeah, so it expires in December of 25. And it's about a 9-month to 12-month process.
Yeah.
So, and it goes up to FEMA, or it goes through the state first and then up to FEMA for approval. So that's kind of why that process takes as long as it does. We just wanna make sure, cause what could happen, you could get it kicked back, and we might have to make some adjustments and things like
Right.
that. So we just wanted to be ahead of the game, so to speak.
'Cause I know I come in towards the end of the last one, just as we got elected, so that's why I was asking.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's every 5 years.
Okay.
And the key behind that is if you don't have a current approved multi-hazard mitigation plan from FEMA, we would be denied any chances to get any of these other grants.
Correct.
Right.
You have to have that in place to get this.
Yep, to include your public assistance funding.
Correct.
Okay.
I used to approve them. I do have a question too, though, when you discussing about your potential for exercises, tabletop or full scale or whichever the scale of it, but, you know, yes, livestock incidences are can be very commonplace for this jurisdiction particularly.
Yes.
But I'm also looking at, and I don't know what the schedule has been for previous exercises, but last time a mass casualty has been addressed because we're looking at all these significant events that we have in Morton County. Country Fest, Buggies and Blues, Independence Day, Rodeo Days, I mean, the list goes on. And a propensity for a mass casualty can be quite large.
Yes, Chairman Boehm and Commissioner Morrell, you're exactly correct. And as a matter of fact, I forgot to mention, the Department of Health has an emergency response section, right, at the state level. And they're actually doing I forget the exact term, but they're doing an exercise for their DMORT team. And it's actually at Fort Abraham Lincoln Campground. And that's coming up in February. And as soon as I requested some details from the state last week regarding that, I was on a conference call with them. But it's the health department is driving that. It's not so much Department of Emergency Services that would tie us more into it. But in my conversation with one of the staff members there, who I know from the fire service, you know, they're more than welcome for us to come down there and actually encouraging it. So as soon as I find out some more details about time, place, location, how we fit into it, I can pass that on to you, to the commission as well. And anybody interested is certainly more than welcome to come by. And we're also going to be in conversation with Sheriff Kirkmeyer, and you know, so something like that definitely is at the forefront of our thoughts in emergency management. It's definitely what keeps me up at night, an incident like that. So, but yes, you know, it's a high priority, and you know, it's just a matter of planning is the big thing for these events, and I think, you know, we have a very good template and stakeholders and a working relationship with our law enforcement and local responders, you know, from what I can tell historically. And I think moving forward, there are certain enhancements we certainly could do. And you know, I look forward to taking on those challenges, so to speak, with other agencies.
February ought to be fun to have a little challenges with that.
Yeah, they didn't really pick the best time of year in North Dakota, but it is what it is, right?
So are you looking at the BURP, or the Bovine Emergency Response Program, for the livestock incident part of it? The truck rollover? More than anything?
Truck rollover, I think, is what we're looking at. Like
The
I said
burp
before,
training.
I know we've had, the
Okay.
bovine.
I was just curious.
Yeah, we've had a couple incidents on the interstate, and, you know, in discussion with assistant manager Rosberg, you know, is it maybe get that out to some other responders and in the county, some other agencies to see, just so they experience it, and we can move forward with any kind of adjustments to the response that they may need.
If you use the BURP training, I might get to help you out. I've helped with that one already.
Okay.
Commissioners have any other questions for Patrick? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. John, our county engineer's up next.
Good evening, Commissioners and Auditor Roan. I'm before you this evening requesting approval of Sabre Engineering for our construction engineering for our Stark Bridge. And as you recall from the past, that over the last couple of years, Stark Bridge was inspected and then load rated, and it was posted at 15 tons, where it had never been posted before. So we requested funding when the DOT was soliciting requests, and we were awarded funding for this project, federal funding, so it's 80% federal and 20% county. We selected through our process Sabre Engineering for the design. The design was complete, and the DOT accepted bids on December 8th of 2023. We received one bid, and that was Swingen Construction. And on the 26th of December, this commission agreed to concur with that award. So now we're getting to a point where we are selecting a construction engineering firm, and we published a request for proposals for engineering, and we received one proposal, and that was from Sabre Engineering. When it comes to construction engineering, it's not that uncommon to receive only one, because a number of our consultants that would ordinarily propose for design don't do construction engineering. And there's also the understanding that probably Sabre has a little bit better understanding since they did design the project. So it's not a concern that we did receive only one, especially when it's John Sabre, because they've done an excellent job on all of their previous designs, and they did a lot of our construction engineering for our box culverts this last fall. And those were very well managed, and the engineering was very good, and they were very successful. So this morning we had an interview, because the DOT requires that we interview even if we only have one proposal. We interviewed Sabre Engineering. The interview team involved Roger Hilly, our road commissioner, Nate Kokorian, and myself. And after listening to their presentation and having a discussion with them, we are very confident that Sabre would be able to handle the tasks that are required, and they would do a very good job. And we would recommend that you approve their selection. The other thing is, this is budgeted. It's once again an 80-20. The feds will cover 80% of the engineering, and we would cover 20%. And I did include that in our budget for this year, knowing that this is going to be a very aggressive schedule, and it's probably a little more intense for just Nate and myself to handle, just because it would basically take all of our time, and we wouldn't be able to work on the other items that are required to be done throughout the year. So with that said, I would be open to any questions you may have.
So we've approved the bridge. It's just a matter of selecting the consultant, which is
That is correct.
procedural.
Yes.
Chairman, we've hired Sabre several times in the past, and he did a good job for us, so I'm confident with this selection, and I'd be ready to make a motion if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. I move to approve the recommendation from the selection committee to hire Sabre Engineering for construction engineering for project BRC 3020080, PCN 23734, which is bridge number 30-143-19.0, which is 9 miles south and 3 miles east of Judson over the Hart River, known as Stark Bridge.
Second.
I'm going to take the easy way out. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consultant for construction of the Stark Bridge. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank
Okay,
you, John.
thank you. I do have one more item. It's just a letter certifying that we followed the DOT procedures in selecting this consultant, and it will require your signature.
Okay. Don't think we need a motion on that, do we?
I don't believe so, because it's basically just stating
Procedural.
that
Yeah, we shouldn't.
follow the procedures.
Yep.
John.
All right, and thank you, and once again, thank you for all your support for all of these projects we've been able to accomplish these last couple of years.
Thanks, John. All right, moving on. Natalie, our P and Z Director. Wendy doesn't know exactly how.
Yeah.
Killing enough trees.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners and Auditor Roan. I had overheads, but it's all in your packet pretty much, so. Our first item is the Dallas Second Subdivision. This is in the northwest quarter of Section 29, Township 139 North, Range 88 West. This is located in the joint ETA with the city of Glen Ullin. The applicant is Dallas Schaff. So essentially what he's requesting to do, there was a Dallas subdivision in 2020 that the county approved, and he just wants to add 7 and some change acres to that lot, and then rezone that 7 acres from ag to residential. The city of Glen Ullin, they reviewed the application and they did not have any comments on it. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and I can take any questions. So in your packet, you have the zoning for the county as well as the zoning for city of Glen Ullin, cause it's in our joint ETA. And then you have the plat of the final lot.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we have anybody to speak to it, so. I'm good.
So there's nobody online,
I
or?
don't think there's anybody online tonight
Okay.
at all. And there's nobody in the audience to speak to it, so I don't think. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend, move to approve the final plot of the short form subdivision known as Dallas Second Subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 comprehensive plan, and the city of Glen Ullin has no objection to this subdivision.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Dallas Second Subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Our next item is the Quam subdivision. This is in the northwest quarter of Section 34, Township 138 North, Range 81 West. This is located east of Highway 6, about 2 miles south of the Mandan Airport. The applicants are Artis Quam and Norman and Shelley Frederick. This is 6.33 acres. They are looking to reassemble 3 auditors' lots and a portion of the neighboring tract, so that the result would be 2 residential lots. One of those lots is already improved with a home and a shop, and then the lot to the north is currently unimproved. This would create the 4th buildable lot within that quarter section. The future land use priority for that area is agricultural, so that is in keeping with our policy 1.1.2 in the long-range plan, and not exceeding that threshold for buildable lots in that quarter. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and I can take any questions.
Commissioners have any questions? Okay,
Are you ready for a motion? I would move to recommend the final, approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Quam subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Quam subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Our next item is the Stern Third Subdivision. This is in the southwest quarter of section 13 and the northwest quarter of section 24, Township 139 North, Range 84 West. This is located south of County Road 139 on a private drive, about 1.25 miles southeast of Sweetbriar Lake. The applicants are Rick and Kathy Stern. They are just looking to divide one residential lot of roughly 3 acres. The location that they wanted to place it happens to be right across a section line. And generally that section line automatically divides a lot. So they're also requesting a section line vacation, so that that lot can be one whole lot. In your packet, you have a diagram of what the section line vacation would look like. So it would be conserving the north-south section line on the west side, so they wouldn't interfere with that section line access. But more or less, going to the west there, I had a photograph of the terrain, which is not in your packet, and if you want to see it, I can pass it around. But essentially, it's a pretty extreme. Oh, I did put it in there.
It is in.
It's a pretty extreme drop off. So that makes that section line more or less impassable. The road commission had a public hearing on the section line vacation at their regular December 20th meeting. They recommended approval of the section line vacation, but they wanted it noted in the record that the county will never come back in and improve that section line, if and when it is vacated. They also, included in the motion, the suggestion of collecting a $600 fee from the petitioners for the county giving up that section line right of way. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this also and had separate motions for the subdivision and the section line vacation. And they recommended approving the subdivision and rezoning and also the section line vacation. They did not look at the question of a $600 fee. So I'm just conveying that as the recommendation from the road commission.
So that includes, approve it, but includes $600.
Mr. Chairman, and that $600 was approved by the road commission, but we've never done that before. And so the zoning board, Commissioner Langang, had some, what we call issues with that, Commissioner Zachmeyer?
Well, it's a fee that was never approved by the county commission. To go back and try to charge this gentleman $600 after the fact, I don't think is appropriate. I think that needs to be a separate agenda item and brought back to the county commission as further discussion, not tie it to zoning or to this request. We've never done that before to any other section lines that we closed. I'm not saying the $600 fee is unreasonable. What I'm saying is to tie it to this gentleman without prior county commission approval is unwise. We've never done it to anyone before. We've never had any type of public hearing on it. And that $600 fee is, that's something that needs to be put on another county commission agenda to be discussed in open public. As far as that was my main concern of it, and I didn't see where the zoning board had any jurisdiction to recommend the $600 fee. Now, it's fine that the road committee can recommend it, but I don't, it's not listed as an agenda item, to consider this $600 fee. I think that needs to be a separate action on a separate day. And should not be part of this discussion for this gentleman, because it's after the fact. No one's ever been charged it before. To charge him now just out of the blue without any prior knowledge, I don't believe is right.
And if we don't have policy on that,
And we don't.
it's kinda hard to charge him a fee when it hasn't happened before and there's no policy for it. So if we were to come back and discuss this at the next county commission meeting and develop a policy, we're beyond this application already, I believe.
Right.
It's gone.
Right, and again, just to clarify, if I understand Commissioner Zachmeyer correctly, is the action that this commission should consider is just whether or not to vacate, in addition to approving or disapproving.
Yeah.
But to vacate the section line and not levy a fee for that.
Yeah,
Correct.
Just leave it
The-
out of there.
The fee can be discussed at another meeting and then, placed into it.
Right.
Because,
Just making sure
Closing section
this and our
lines can
listening
get to
audience
be-
understands it.
and closing section lines can get to be hard.
Right.
Especially if they dead end to some type of other public good, well, it dead ends to the Missouri River, but that's another avenue to get to the Missouri River to go shoreline fishing. And then all of a sudden they can be tacky really fast. So the $600 fee is probably a good idea, but I don't believe this gentleman should be charged it, because it's changing the rule in the middle of his application.
Yeah, I think we'll miss this one, period.
So, Mr. Chairman, I mean, if it would be consensus of the board to put this on to next month's meeting to look at charging a fee, for closing a section line
In general.
in general.
I think the road commission should develop a policy for that and they discuss that and bring it to the commission.
I agree that would be appropriate.
Yes.
John, you got more work.
We can do that.
Yeah, I think we're just beyond this one here. This one's gonna be grandfathered in, basically. That's what you'd call it, but we can develop a policy
Yeah,
for future section line closures.
Not so much grandfather, just we don't have a policy to address charging a
Yeah,
fee.
it's, okay.
Yep.
Then, Mr. Chairman, we'd have to take two different motions, and the first would have to be the section line vacation, because if you approve the subdivision and then all of a sudden deny the section line, it would not, then what would you
Yeah.
have
Yeah. So we're looking at the section line vacation first.
first?
Yeah. Makes,
Natalie, you don't have the right map up.
Yeah,
on the-
sorry,
so-
that's the next one.
do you wanna be seeing it?
She's trying to see what,
What
Make
Wendy's
sure,
doing
yeah,
there.
making it work.
We're running a test, ignore the people behind the curtain. Do you wanna see the
Wizard
plat, or
work.
do you wanna see, what would you like up there?
No, I think we're all understanding where
Okay,
we're at
yeah.
here. It's just a matter of
Yep.
think we've discussed it. If we can get a motion, I think we're all right unless there's other discussion.
Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the vacation of the section line between sections 13 and 24, as presented, as the section line is not currently in use and likely will never be used due to terrain constraints.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved to vacate the section line between sections, what was it,
It's 13 and 24.
13 and 24. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on vacating that section line?
We should probably have proper township and range in there too.
And then I would suggest citing as presented, cause it's not the whole section line, it's just a portion.
Okay.
Natalie, do you have the township and range
Yep.
quick?
It is, southwest quarter of section 13, northwest quarter of section 24, township 139, north, range 84,
Okay.
west.
So that's in the motion then, Dawn? Section, township, and range. Okay. Do you accept those?
Yes, I accept
Okay.
those changes, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any further discussion on this amendment? or this motion,
Motion.
excuse me. Bad, my call. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Okay.
So now, we need to, hang on, Natalie. We're not done. Now, we need to have discussion and a motion on the approval of this subdivision.
I move to recommend approval of the final plat of the short form subdivision known as Stern Third Subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential as the subdivision conforms to the regulations established in Article 7 of the Morton County Land Use Code and conforms to the land use priorities established in the 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final plat of a short form subdivision known as Stern Third Subdivision and a zoning map amendment from agricultural to residential. Is there any further discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right,
Okay.
now we have audience at least for this one.
Right. The star of our agenda. This is the Nell Fisher variance. This is on Lot 2, Block 2 of Schlosser's 4th subdivision in the north half of Section 33, Township 140 North, Range 81 West. This is located at the northern extent of Willow Road. So here's Willow Road, here's the lot. The applicants are Diane Nell and Dave and Joy Fisher. This is a lot that is roughly 0.8 acres, so that falls under our lot minimum of 1.5 acres, so that makes that property non-conforming. The property is under contract and the buyer would like to build a shop addition, so they're looking to gain that entitlement before they close on the property. This is zoned residential. The county doesn't issue building permits on non-conforming lots except through a variance. So this consideration for this variance is two different things. The first thing that they are asking for is simply the allowance to construct the addition on a non-conforming lot. And then the second thing is an allowance to encroach into the front yard setback by 15 feet. So our threshold for granting variances to build on non-conforming lots generally falls to the question of, can the lot accommodate the septic system that would be required for building on that lot. Western Plains Public Health, they looked at the site plan for this and they said that given just the footprint of the addition that's being requested, that's not going to compromise the existing septic system, and it wouldn't compromise the lot in such a way where they can't put in a replacement system. So Western Plains Public Health, they gave their approval for the current site plan, but they said if there were any changes to that site plan, they would want to review it again. So here you can see, this is their site plan. This is the existing house, existing garage, and they are looking to extend, put an addition wrapping around the current garage. So this is a portion of the 40-foot front yard setback, so they're looking to encroach into that by 15 feet. So again, their site plan and their description, in the applicant's description, they said they were thinking about a floor drain, they were thinking about maybe a utility sink, but they weren't sure. This site plan does not include any plumbing in it. There's no description of where a tank would go for a floor drain. So again, Western Plains Public Health said they were fine with this addition. It's not compromising the septic system, but if they were to add any plumbing, they would need to review this again. So that's dealing with the septic component. And this is just another look so this is a survey, more of a, survey rather than an architectural rendering. So this shows roughly where the septic area is. It's down on the south side of the house, and then they have the tank there. So this is well away from, that septic system. If they were gonna do a replacement system, Custer Health said they could put it towards the back of their property, so, the addition, in fact, they have a little room to work with, room between the proposed addition and the tank where it is. So the other question of allowing or giving approval for a variance to encroach into the front yard setback, usually, or the threshold, the criteria in our land use code is that there has to be an extenuating hardship. So, this application didn't really have an extenuating hardship, that was cited. And I have the list of criteria if you wanna go through it, from the land use code, but, I'll leave that until later if you wanna go through that, point by point. So this wasn't in your packet, so I'm just adding this so you can see the property. So this is it's on the east side of Willow Road. This is looking north towards the property, so, this is where the side where the septic system is. This is the existing jutting out garage. This is a temporary building, so that would be taken down. It's just, some sort of fabric sides, so that would be taken down, but the addition would go around the garage here. That's just a little bit different view. Again, existing garage, so the addition would wrap around that garage. And then this is on the north side of the property. Again, these are temporary structures, that show, and then this is the edge of the neighboring house, so that shows you kinda, the proximity there between those two property boundaries. So, in comparing this variance to other requests that the county has had in recent years along Willow Road, I was just gonna point out we've only had 2 variance requests along Willow Road in the past, 10 years or more. One was the Shinatsky variance, that was 2014. And this was fairly close to the existing property. It was 2 lots south of this current property. The county commission granted Mr. Shinatsky a variance to construct a 1-bedroom cottage for his handicapped son, so that Mr. Shinatsky could continue to care for him. That was a variance for a second dwelling on a lot, but that plan did not include any encroachment into the front yard setback. And the county did grant that variance. In 2015, there was the Grinsteiner variance. That was about a half mile south of this property. And that was a request for a 24 by 24 shop. And they were asking for permission to encroach 20 feet into the front yard setback. They said that their hardship was that if they were meeting the setback, they would have to put the accessory building too close to their house, and that there would be issues with drainage. The county commission didn't find that was rose to the level of a extreme hardship, and they denied that variance. The applicant had said at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that there were other instances of front yard setback encroachments along Willow Road, and during that meeting, we didn't have any visual aids at our disposal to look at that or not, so staff looked at that in between the Planning and Zoning Commission and now. So the only way that you're gonna find out if something truly encroaches into the setback is if you have a survey done. So staff was just looking at GIS and an aerial image and the property boundaries, which aren't perfect, but at least, would give you a sense of which ones are kind of close. So there were only 3 that were very close to encroaching on the front yard setback. So again, that Grinsteiner property, they did end up building their shop. But they're very close. It looks like they're meeting that 40 feet, but because the aerial image can be not quite aligned with the property boundaries, they might be a little over, but for the most part, they're meeting their setback. 7650 Willow Road, there is an accessory structure there that was permitted by the county in 2011. And according to the aerial, they may be a couple of feet encroaching into the front yard setback, not by much if they are at all. And then looking at, and so 8700 Willow Road, which is directly north of this subject property. So there's it's a lot of lines here. This was the original plat from Schlosser's Fourth. So this is the subject property, and this is the property to the north. This, I guess, in my opinion at least, if we were reviewing this today, staff would be recommending that this lot be incorporated with this lot because the buildable area on this lot is only 67 feet wide, which is hardly any space at all to construct anything. And so their home does encroach into the front yard setback. That building permit was issued by the county back in 1993, and there was not a variance for that. But if that had come to the county for a variance, that would be a good example of an occasion to grant one, because you can't even build a home in the buildable space that was allotted when the lot was made. So I would call that an error in review, perhaps, that would disadvantage that lot over other lots in the subdivision because there's almost no buildable space on it. So those are the four, and then 622 Rosie Lane, looking further to the west. They have a detached garage that looks like it's maybe about 10 feet into the front yard setback, and that permit was issued in 1996. There was no variance for that. So again, in order to know whether those are actually encroaching, we'd have to have surveys done. But those were the only buildings that were even close to encroaching in a front yard setback by comparison. So there was a question about the Harmon Lake Dam inundation zone. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Zone 2 is in orange, zone 3 is in purple, zone 1 is in the green. So that the dam inundation zone ends on Willow Road here. This is a subject property, so it is not in the Harmon Lake Dam inundation zone. So they wouldn't have restrictions in that, at least from that portion of the code. This is hard to see, but it's in your packet. So this is an aerial image from the 2011 flood, just to give you a sense. So this whole area is in the special flood hazard zone. All these properties did flood in 2011. Houses were preserved because they got sandbagged, but pretty much everything was inundated. So I'm just gonna leave that up there as we're discussing. So again, all of those properties are in the the special flood hazard area. So that home that is on this property was constructed in 1984. Morton County adopted their firms in 1987. So that is a pre-firm building. And so they're not a foot above base flood elevation. They didn't have to be because those regulations weren't adopted at that time. The base flood elevation today is 1642, and that home is at 1642 and a third, roughly. So in terms of floodplain regulations, it all depends on the ratio of the cost of this addition to the market value of the structure, the home itself, not the land. So if this addition were to be, the cost of the addition, were to be 50% of the market value of the home, as valuated prior to construction, it would be considered a substantial improvement, and the applicants would have to not only fill in the basement of the home, they'd have to take the mechanical systems out of there, elevate those to a foot above base flood, they'd have to elevate all the living space to, or the lowest living floor to a foot above base flood, and they'd have to elevate the addition. If the proposed addition is not 50% or more of the value of the home, then they don't have to elevate anything at all. However, in talking to FEMA staff, they were reminding me that we do have to document, like if this variance gets approved, and they do construct that addition, they will have to document the cost of that addition. They'll have to have accurate appraisal for the house. I would imagine that's not gonna be a problem, because in a sale, you get an appraisal anyway. But
It's in the special hazard area, but not in the flood inundation zone,
right,
correct?
Yep.
It's just that
it's
close. Okay.
it's the special flood hazard area.
Of the
dam
Missouri River.
inundation of the Missouri River.
Of the Missouri River.
Yep. The dam inundation zone is related just to Harmon Dam if that were to breach.
There.
So, yep. And so all the regulations that I'm talking about have to do with national flood insurance and
Gotcha.
riverine flooding. So staff would be asking them to provide at least 2 contractor estimates for that addition. And if there was gonna be any sweat equity, if there was gonna be any donated or found materials, those all have to be cost out as if they were new and as if the contractor were doing it. Because FEMA, when they come back in and do a community audit, they would be looking through that paperwork to make sure that those numbers are right on. And this is based on the numbers the applicant gave me, and they were rough estimates. We're very, very close to that 50% mark, so we have to be conscientious about getting very accurate numbers. So staff recommended denial on this variance request. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. And if you have more questions about floodplain or anything like that, I would be happy to take them. Other than that, I will stand for questions.
Commissioners have any questions for Natalie?
Mr. Chair, Natalie, if you can confirm, based on the footprint, it looks like it's about a 1,500 square foot
Addition.
addition.
So it's 51.
You got 20 foot on the one side. No, it's probably more than that.
So this is 50, 51, 20, 30.
She's gonna have 30 by 30 on the one section,
And 51 by 20 for the other.
and 30. What I don't know is what the depth of that existing garage is.
Yeah, and I don't think they provided that.
I'm gonna guess it to be about 24 feet.
Probably close to that.
So then you're looking at 54 by 20. So we're approximately 1680. And looking at well, again, just looking at buildable costs, $50, anywhere from $50 to $75 per square foot is where costs are at approximately for a shop, for a garage, depending on your level of finishes on the inside.
Right, and we couldn't take some kind of estimate. We'd have to have
Right.
a
I'm just
contractor's.
trying to put numbers down here.
And I guess, so sorry, I don't know if I had that in your packet. The applicant had given me their estimate of cost of, or, value of the property, and I took the ratio of land to structure that we have in our tax rolls right now and estimated out the cost, or probably the market value of the structure would be about 490, and then, or, 490, and then they had estimated the cost of the addition at 250,000, and I asked if that included interior finish, and they weren't quite sure, so,
Yeah.
and that already puts it at 52 without probably interior finish.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling if they build it the way it is, it's gonna be more than 50% and put that in that substantial improvement category.
And Mr. Chair, I'm also looking at the amount of green space surrounding the existing structure. There's ample amount of green space around the structure that a redesign of the shop or the future build-out, but as it sits right now, it really doesn't show any hardship. Because there's ample space on the property, there's really no confinements on the property that would restrict replacing or redesigning a build-out. So that's where a hardship would be considered,
Right.
and I don't see a hardship.
And I do have to say, when the applicant turned this in, I said the first day that they turned it in, I said you might wanna revise your site plan so that you're not encroaching, into that front yard setback, and, the site plan did stay the same.
I mean, in all fairness, let's say the other previous examples that you gave, one was at 5 foot, approximately 5 foot. That would be something that could be, a variance could be assigned for that if it was in fact. But when you're pushing 15 feet, that's a big push.
Commissioners have any further questions for Natalie? I know we have some people in the audience that would answer questions if you have them.
Mr. Chairman, what bothers me on this one is the one that we're also facing in another floodplain where a building permit was accidentally issued. And a pole barn started going up. And now that one's before FEMA, and the only way we could fix it, because there was a good faith reliance on what the county did, the county made a mistake, we have to stand accountable for it. But now FEMA, we tried to use a variance there to correct the mistake, and FEMA is right now denying. And Mr. Copy, is there anything new in that area? Because I see this being basically gonna end up the same way.
Indicating to the negative. Cause I'm not at the,
Okay, so, but there's no guidance on what happened with the other one to help us on this one. So it's possible FEMA could still dump on this.
But Commissioner Zachmeyer, wasn't the other party that built in the floodplain, they were gonna do a engineer's estimate, so we don't know where we're at
No,
with that one? Or
no.
maybe you've heard more than we have.
Yeah, no, they were gonna get an elevation certificate just to give FEMA that little bit of extra information, because it's not a terrible cost to do that, but to engineer a building in the way that, because basically FEMA doesn't want to be responsible for any liability that would be generated by allowing a structure in the floodplain that's like 4 feet under BFE. And so they want stamped drawings from an engineer so that the liability goes on the engineer. It's gonna be about $50,000 to get stamped drawings, and I'm quite sure you know, the applicant's not interested in going to that cost for FEMA to say, yeah, that's not good, then you can't put it there anyway. I mean, it shouldn't be there. It absolutely shouldn't be there, and it was just the county's error.
Okay, thank you, Natalie.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Buckley and I were on planning and zoning for the Grinsteiner variance, and that was denied. And this, request is basically the same. And the one with, handicapped family member, that was a struggle at planning and zoning, it was a struggle at, the county commission level. It was Commissioner Cody Schultz that finally came up with the way to word the motion in such a way to tie it to the land and also the family hardship. But when that family also came, they also came with some medical background and some doctor's letters and what it would cost, because their son would then have to go into assisted living or a nursing home environment. And the only way to keep him out of that and in his own home or with family was to build the cottage, because the landowners there were his last method of support. But if memory serves me right, and we'd have to go try to look it up, but I don't believe that building was ever even constructed. I believe that the gentleman that had the health problems, the family member, his health problems deteriorated worse, and he had to go to a nursing home anyway, and the family sold, and that cottage never was built. So that one, you know, tugged on everybody's heartstrings, and there was really nothing more, you know, to try to help that family out that the county could do. So that was a stretch of a hardship, because the hardship is supposed to be tied to the land and is not supposed to be man-made. This one, I suppose a person could argue, well, you want to build onto the garage, but it's man-made because the house was placed where it was. And now it's entering into the setback. The other ones that are up there, that was before any of our time. Who knows what happened? But there was one other one where, I believe it made it with Blotter. Do you remember the Blotter one at all, Jackie?
I don't, Andy.
There was a family up there named Blotter. They were coming to planning and zoning meetings, but I think they were getting on the agenda more or less to argue for a possible variance to invade the setbacks, and they're located on Schlosser Drive, the general area. Are they on Willow? Okay, they're in that general area, but it was basically the same thing. They wanted to put up a building, and I think they saw the writing on the wall that the variance wasn't going to be approved, and it ended up being denied. Or they ended up pulling it. It never did come. There's no record of it in the planning and zoning office. But I don't see a hardship on this at all. And if we were gonna allow a hardship on this, we're gonna be opening up that whole entire area, and they're all gonna be claiming hardship, even in the flood inundation zone. The house immediately basically upstream from this, that happened before any of our time, and probably that variance would have to be approved, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to use their lot like everybody else could. But that's not the case on this one. And if we are gonna lower our standards on variances to this point, then these variances are gonna become nothing more than a political tool, like how they were used at times during the 1970s and the 1980s, even into the 1990s. If you don't like planning and zoning, let your project get denied. The following month, come back with a variance, and the variance will be approved. Now, when I first ran for office way back when, that was the most political item I got going door to door. Are you gonna be like every other county commissioner and grant variances every time your political cronies want something and then deny the next person because they're not politically affiliated. I got that all the time. By far, that time my very first term, by far the most hated thing that I found anywhere in the county was how variances were handled to supersede zoning rules. And this is, level of hardship on this property is so low that if this is granted, we might as well tell every single other person that has a project, bring it back to the county. If it gets denied, come the following month, ask for a variance, and it's gonna be granted. There is absolutely no hardship on this one. It's not devaluing the property at all. It's got Missouri River access. The current landowner is not being suffering for it, so there's no hardship to the current landowner. It's only the prospective future landowner. And I know what the values of those properties are going up there, even this one in a flood zone, which obviously, they're 2011, it was underwater. I also have concerns about continuing to add structures into an area that's gonna flood. And the Corps of Engineers, when all those meetings during 2011 in this room, said numerous times, Garrison Dam is for flood control, not flood elimination. This will happen again. Might be another 50 years, might be 5 years, might be next year, but it will happen again. It is inevitable. So I have concerns about adding more structures and more county liability to this area. But a lot of the information that was presented tonight by the planner was not heard at planning and zoning. So if there is, the minimum that should be done is that this variance request be sent back to the planning and zoning board for another review, or it should be outright denied.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the request for variance, or that the request for, let me find the verbiage here, please hold.
It's a variance to construct.
The request for the variance to construct the proposed addition, shop addition, be denied. And again, if to add to that is there's no exhibit for concerns or hardships on the parcel, on the property that would prohibit a redesign that may fit their needs and not encroach in our setback.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have it's been moved to deny the variance to construct a shop addition. Is there any discussion?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can ask a question, if
Mhm.
they would bring
The-
it back at a smaller scale and it didn't encroach,
Then they would have it by right.
they would have it by right, correct, Mr. Zachariah?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman,
Yeah,
they
right.
wouldn't have it by right, it still has to be approved as a variance because the lot's too small. So it would have to come back, but if it wasn't encroaching in the, front yard setback, you're only answering one question instead of two questions.
Okay,
I mean, of course, the floodplain concerns still are there, but,
Okay.
it would be a different set of questions.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
okay.
And I understand that as well. So this basically, if we approve this motion, then basically allows the applicant to go back and reevaluate, resubmit with a different footprint.
Any questions of them?
It's up to you.
You have a short, we're getting a little bit longer here. Do you have a comment or two? Okay, I'll allow it tonight.
Good evening. My name is Dave Fisher. I am the applicant here. You know, from a timeline standpoint, this has been kind of a rushed situation. Okay, so we just, a little over a month ago, we made a decision to purchase the property. We're a couple weeks away from closing on it. We've been working on trying to get these plans together. This is one of a couple. Okay, so we're not saying that we can't do some adjustment. Trying to get all the facts in front of us has been a circus. We get tidbits here and there, and we finally got what you folks got just a week ago. From the aspect of the drainage, it has been discussed. It just did not make it on the map. Can I use your screen here?
Oh, yeah, yeah. This is the other side. Here, I got it. Here, I got, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if we did a drainage system, and basically we're looking at a shop, you know, coming from just shy of 5,500 square foot of shop, where we're currently at with walking paths. This is just shy of 2,000, what we're looking at. Okay, so if we were to do the drain, the tank would be roughly here or here. And no plumbing in the outfit. The drain is just for melting off vehicles, washing the car, that type of thing. This is a hobby shop. You're looking for a hardship, I understand. I appreciate your rules and regulations. This is the desired structure. We want to make this structure look like something we did, not something we found. Try and improve the neighborhood. This is the easiest access to the home. A little bit cheaper because you don't have as much fill dirt. I guess one of the hardships that I would look at, need to have room to get vehicles in. I have an 85-year-old mother-in-law that lives with us. I also have a 35-year-old son in a wheelchair. It's a lot easier getting them in and out on a concrete floor than it is out in the driveway. I'm not saying we can't redo, and if that's what it is, that's what we'll have to do. You know, we've got an architect lined up, and he's been working on it. From a cost standpoint, that $250,000, I just picked that out of the air. You know, it's just, so it's a work in progress. This is just one step of many. We understand the FEMA business. We're one step at a time. We're dealing with it. So, hoping that you can approve the variance. I understand if you can't, we'll just go back to the drawing board, I guess. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Is there any other discussion on the motion to deny the variance? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? The motion to deny is approved.
But again, Mr. Chair, and for the potential buyers, just invited them to, as Dave mentioned too, is working with your architect or whatever the case is, and having something presentable that would fit in that footprint.
That's all my items, thank you.
Okay. Next on, you have the, can I ask Natalie a question? Is that New Salem mess all cleaned up now?
I don't
I know it's
know.
not on the agenda, but is it pretty much done?
I don't know for sure. I will check
Okay.
with Lana. It sounded like they were imminently going out to clean it up, and so it may already be done. I just
Okay.
don't know for sure.
Okay,
I will check.
it's been on agenda before. Next, we have Dawn.
Okay, we have a couple liquor licenses that are renewals. The sheriff has signed off on both of them. We have the Venue 25 and the Wet Spot Bar and Grill.
Any,
Wet Spot, that's with the same owners from last year then, right?
Yes.
And it's by Glen Ellen there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the edge of Glen
Edge of
Ellen city
Glen Ellen.
limits, yep.
Yep. Haven't had a chance to get in there
I
yet.
already signed them, but yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the liquor licenses for MK Events, DBA Venue 25, and the Wet Spot in Glen Ellen.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the liquor license renewals for MK, excuse me, MK Events, Venue 25 of Mandan, and the Wet Spot Bar and Grill in Glen Ellen. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone have anything else good for the order?
Motion, we adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? We are adjourned. 7:20.
Somebody cutting hair down here?
I was trimming my
Contract
mustache.
shear? Looks like, I think this is a haircut.
Nice and trimmed.
I was
Did
trimming my
you need a
mustache.
trim,
No.
Andy? Commissioner Zachmeyer? You know what? If John Schaefer would have been here, no way,
No, what?
no
Okay,
variance.
You're still on. You got her shut down, Wendy?
So we're only at a 1 foot BFE?